Do you remember when retirement meant Florida, fixed income, and figuring out how to stretch your pension while playing cards in your beige tracksuit? Yet, that's not the case anymore. Today's retirees and soon-to-be retirees, they want something entirely different. They want more energy, they want more adventure, they want more passion, and they want a whole lot less bingo. According to new data from Edelman's Everyday Wealth in America report, nearly 4 in 10 people want a retirement that looks nothing like what their parents had. And so in today's video, we're going to break down what those new aspirations actually look like, alongside a couple of real stories from people who are already living them out. Because if you're planning for your retirement like it's 1985, there's a good chance you're going to be building the wrong plan. Hey there, I'm Steve Willems. I'm a practicing certified financial planner and wealth advisor with the Willems Wealth Planning Group out here in BC. We started this channel to help people like you plan for your own retirement, helping you arrange your investments, your income streams, and ideally pay less tax along the way. So let's start with what the data actually says. So according to Edelman's Everyday Wealth in America 2024 report, nearly 4 in 10 Americans, technically 37%, say that they want a retirement that just looks nothing like what their parents had. And if you narrow in on people in their 30s, which probably isn't you, that number jumps up to 46%. But even in my own practice here, working mostly with folks in their 50s and 60s, I can tell you, like, this trend is real. It seems people are just less focused on winding down and more interested in winding up. They want energy, freedom, flexibility, and meaning. They're retiring with bucket lists, not sitting in the recliners. And that's the key shift, right? The definition of retirement has gone from stop working to start living. Now, to be fair, some things haven't changed, right? You still need a plan to generate income. You still need to be smart about taxes. And yes, I mean, you still have to know your expenses and you need to know kind of how your accounts are going to support them. But what you're planning for, that's where the script has flipped. So let's walk through the 7 ways today's retirees are doing exactly that. So topping this list was just more movement. One of our recently retired clients has gone deep into, and I mean deep into, pickleball. It started as a way to stay fit, maybe meet some new people, like nothing serious, right? But now he's playing it in local tournaments. He's following the pro circuit. There is a pro circuit. And he even planned a trip down to California to watch some of the best players play against each other. Like, this is his new thing. And retirement gave him the space to actually make it happen. For him, it's not about going pro. It's not about chasing medals or anything like that. It's about creating perhaps more surface area for connection, maybe for joy, for getting out of the house with a purpose, for a point, instead of going to, Home Depot for the 4th time to deal with that one stupid project. And when we're building plans for folks like him, right, like that kind of active lifestyle, it's not just a footnote, it's a real line item that actually needs to be funded, right? Like, we're talking like gear, travel, clinics, maybe memberships. It all adds up if we want it to. But more importantly for him, it just adds meaning. So if staying active is going to be a part of the dream for you, just make sure it's a part of your plan. Now, right behind staying active is getting more adventurous. Gone are the days of, the beige bus tours and lukewarm buffets and the big chain hotels. The retirees we're working with today are booking trips that would have made their parents raise an eyebrow, or maybe 3. Take one couple who recently booked a cycling tour through Spain with a group called Cycling Country. Now, they're doing this on e-bikes, sure, but still, like 50 to 60 kilometer days. They're staying in boutique countryside inns. They're eating with the locals. They're making new friends from around the world. And it's not about setting speed records for this couple. They're slowing down enough to actually absorb the places that they'd only ever seen on postcards. And they're not the only ones. We've got another client. He's a semi-retired physician who ships his mountain bike to Italy every single year to take part in some downhill trail rides through the Dolomites. Like, not a guided stroll either, like full face helmet, like serious gear, adrenaline, and some world-class pasta at the end of every run. Like, his version of freedom is sweat and speed. Another one, they traded pedals for horsepower, and they rode a motorcycle all the way around Africa. He was in his late 60s. He said it was absolutely one of the most formative trips of his life, and the guy's been around the world. Now, these stories all have a common thread. Retirement isn't just a wind down. It's now a ramp up. When clients tell us they want, more adventure, it's not about danger. It's about doing something that actually stretches them, like physically, maybe mentally, emotionally, and often geographically. So from a planning perspective, it's not just budgeting, airfare and hotels. Often it's gear, it's insurance, it's planning for off-season training or trips with groups that they'll stay connected to, right? It's thinking about how you're going to layer in adventure without blowing up the financial plan. And that's totally doable with the right structure. Now, this third one's pretty cool. It's about getting more ambitious about those passion projects. Now, ambition in retirement isn't always like climbing the highest mountain. It's often about finally having the time, the space, and the resources to do something that you care about. Like no rules, like no deadlines, just whatever your definition of joy is. So one client recently retired from a 40-year career. He bought himself one of those e-foil boards, right? Like those electric surfboards that you've probably seen like floating around the water like magic. His kids rolled their eyes at first until they all ended up fighting for turns during the family weekend up at the lake. Now it's his thing, but it's also a shared experience that he never could have planned for. Another client moved off his chicken farm and he built himself a retirement workshop that honestly puts most commercial spaces to shame. Like full of custom tools, a storage, workbenches kind of built to last a lifetime. But what really got me was the smile on his face when he said, hey, like I tinker out here for 8 hours a day and I don't even realize the time is gone. Like for these folks, these aren't just hobbies, they're passion projects. They're things that bring structure, a challenge, a huge sense of purpose as they transition in this next stage of life. But financially, we obviously, again, need to budget for them. These things aren't like $20 splurges at the hardware store. These passion projects might mean $10,000, maybe $50,000 up front, plus sometimes some ongoing costs. But the value that they get in return, right, it's incredible. It keeps people mentally engaged, physically active, and emotionally really fulfilled. And as planners, like that's the trifecta that we're after. Now, the next way that people are doing retirement differently these days is they're looking for more affordable options. This one always kind of makes me smile because it's actually not about cutting back out of fear. It's about actually optimizing for freedom. Let me show you what I mean. So we had a client sell their home out here in the Fraser Valley at the absolute tippy top of the real estate market. It was a couple years ago. The timing turned out to be almost like comedic in a very, very good way. What they did is they relocated to one of the Gulf Islands. They pocketed a nice tidy sum. They eliminated every single cent of debt that they had, and they completely reshaped their life. What they do today? Well, they swim in the ocean every single day, even in winter. They help their kids into the housing market. They go to local markets on Saturdays and they've swapped traffic jams for tide charts. And guess what? They're happier than ever. And here's the kicker. It's not just more peaceful. For them, it's actually way more affordable. Their monthly cost of living dropped by nearly 40% when they did this relocation. That includes property taxes, utilities, groceries, like all of it. Even the fun stuff got cheaper because they weren't trying to keep up with anyone anymore. There's this narrative out there that retirement means downsizing your life. But in this case, it absolutely expanded this couple's life. Like not in the sense of square footage or status or anything like that, but in terms of time and margin and for them, meaning. So for you, if you're carrying a big mortgage, maybe living in a high cost area because it made sense then, it's worth asking if it still makes sense now. Sometimes a simple relocation can turn a questionable retirement plan into a total slam dunk. Now, the next one is more minimalism. This one blends beautifully with the last. That same couple who relocated to the Gulf Islands, they didn't just reduce their cost of living, they simplified everything. They sold the big family home that they'd raised their boys in, and they moved to something much smaller, right? Like quieter, more quaint. The yard is easier to manage, the house is cozier, the energy from the place is just completely different. And with that simplicity came a surprising shift in mindset. Things that they'd felt like an inconvenience back in the Fraser Valley, like the occasional power outage maybe, they're now just a part of the charm, almost welcomed, right? Like when that happens, life slows down, expectations soften, and the absence of all of that clutter, like physically, but also mentally, it creates space for what really matters. When we dug into this together, they said that they felt like they hadn't actually given up anything. They just stopped holding on to things that they didn't need anymore, right? Like this minimalistic retirement doesn't mean you actually have to stop living big. It just means that you're going to be more intentional about what actually matters to you. And for more and more retirees, less is becoming the new version of more. Now, the other way that things are changing is this: folks are becoming more nomadic. And I'm not talking about the old school like snowbird model of spending 6 months down in Arizona. This is something entirely different. So we recently wrapped up a plan for a couple in their early 60s who've been renting for years, right? Like no home to sell, no mortgage to pay off, just like pure flexibility. It was a beautiful thing. And they looked ahead to their retirement that we were helping them with, and they realized that they weren't really craving a place to settle down. They were actually craving a movement, a curiosity, maybe like new rhythms. So we baked that right into their plan, right? Multi-month stints in the UK, Ireland, and then on to Scotland. No whirlwind tours or like packing in 10 cities in 8 days, just like really slow, intentional travel, like time in these small towns, pub chats with total strangers, long walks on kind of like wind-swept coasts. They wanted to like really immerse themselves in these places, like live in these places, not just pass through them. And the beautiful part, because they're renting, it made this whole thing a lot easier, right? No need to figure out how to kind of lock up and leave. No property taxes ticking away while they're abroad. No nasty speculation tax nuances to resolve, just like pure options. And this is what we're seeing more and more of. Retirees not retiring from something, but retiring to something. And sometimes that something isn't an actual fixed address. Now, the last way that things have changed a lot is just technology, more technology. Now, not everyone's retiring into a world of smartwatches and streaming workouts, but a surprising number of retirees are using tech in subtle, meaningful ways that are actually reshaping what retirement looks and feels like. So just take family chats, for example. For some of our clients, the family group chat has become kind of the new family room. Instead of waiting 5 years for a cousin reunion or maybe that odd cross-country phone call, they're now in constant casual communication with their kids, maybe even their grandkids, right? Like sharing memes, celebrating milestones, maybe even playing weekly online games together. One of our clients has a scheduled game night every Sunday over Zoom with their daughter's family abroad. In another era, that level of relational proximity would have been absolutely unthinkable. Tech is also helping retirees gamify their health. We've got clients who are closing their Apple Watch rings religiously. They're tracking those sleep scores. They're even comparing their heart rate zones like they're preparing for a triathlon. It's not, though, about being like the fittest person in the room. It's just about being accountable to the version of yourself that you want to be in this next chapter. A smart home tech has also kind of been a sleeper hit. I'm thinking of one couple who now travels for a month at a time. They're totally relaxed because they can monitor, their thermostat, their security, even, deliveries right from their phones while they're abroad. The flexibility that this tech brings doesn't just make travel possible, it actually makes you kind of feel safe and stress-free while you're doing it. So no, retirees aren't suddenly becoming like coders or crypto bros or anything like that, but they are using technology to stay connected, right? To stay well and to stay flexible. And that's a pretty big shift from the retirement model of the past. So what do all these stories have in common? Well, they're not about downsizing dreams. They're about actually right-sizing those dreams. They're not about retiring from something. They're about retiring into something. And each one reflects probably a deeper truth. Today's retirees, they're not slowing down anytime soon. They're just shifting gears. And if you're nearing this next chapter of life, maybe it's worth asking, like, what version of retirement are you actually planning for? And is your plan actually built in the way that you want to live? Hey, thanks as always for watching. We'll see you in the next one.